in the background.
Oh yeah.
So it's coming, man. This JPMorgan unveils his JPM coin. I'm like,
Yeah, you guys,
Jamie Dimon is evil.
it's
Yeah.
it's live because it's 8 o'clock and it's moving. So just to let you know.
Awesome. Okay, I'm watching the feed. I don't see it hasn't popped up on the
It
feed
won't.
yet.
There's always a delay. But is there? Did I texted Jason?
Yeah,
He
it's
didn't say.
coming, man. This JP. This there we go.
So anyway, cool. Well, it's the three of us for tonight. We might get somebody else joining if he can pull away from the code. We got a pretty well stacked list of news items. Lots of stuff was happening this week. Lots of fun stuff to talk about. I got some notes, but I'm not going to be leaving it off. I think Mr. J wants to pick a topic, and we can kind of go from there.
Yeah. Well, we were
it up.
just yeah. Well, first of all, note that Jason said he'll be in the next 5 to 10 minutes, so we expect him to jump on. But I think I want to lead off with the first one. I think we can all chop in. Is JPMorgan unveils first bank-backed JPM coin cryptocurrency. So let me bring that one up. That one, I mean, like anything else, really piqued my interest. I jumped into that to take a good look at it, and they don't use the word stablecoin, but I mean, basically, what I got out of it is that they're going to come out with a coin that's going to be pegged at $1, and that coin is going to be used for essentially the transfer of funds in-house, right, for institutional investors. At this point, they're not really.
It's weird, dude. Like I read this and I'm trying to figure out like why this is so cool. Like okay, so they're using blockchain to do something they could have already done, using existing methods. Like I don't understand. This isn't like a coin. This is literally a blockchain tech application to use from business to business, right? So essentially, christened JPMorgan businesses, right, to do settlements, which is essentially it's faster, right? Because they can trust this thing, and I get it, but like I don't know why they needed a blockchain to do this, and I guess maybe I'm not seeing it.
But I think they're doing it to stay relevant, right?
That's possible. That's possible, and it looks like this is probably a token issued on top of the Quorum, thing they've built. That was October, and so. They again, it's another stable coin, right? So is it just a way to, way for their own trusted parties, their own trusted customers, to save time and money with stuff that would normally involve Swift maybe, or some other internal accounting mechanism? I don't know, but.
I actually went and looked at, and I don't know if they have a link on here. I went to the JPMorgan site and read through essentially the FAQ that they issued out on that, and I tell you, it's what they don't say, which is intriguing. I think this really sets the stage for them. I think it signals to their clients that they're definitely in the crypto world. Yes, they're using it for transactions right now, but I think it also sets the stage for them to move this at the consumer level, and in their FAQ, that question comes up: is this going to be available for consumers? And right now they're saying not at this time, but it certainly allows them to build the entire infrastructure to support their own cryptocurrency inside and out, or multiple cryptocurrencies, right?
And it doesn't invalidate what Jamie Dimon said either, right? Because his stance was Bitcoin is shit, which from a banker, I totally get it, right? Like that makes sense. But people have to make sure we're separating blockchain tech from, blockchain that's supposed to be used as a currency, right? So I guess my question was, why are they doing this? Is it a PR move? Is there an actual performance increase that they're getting by using a blockchain? They said it was like they got it up to a couple hundred transactions per second, which is probably plenty for what they're trying to do. Maybe they save money in distributed database costs, right? Because everything's kind of maintained on this ledger that's across all of their clients, instead of having to pay one place to kind of back up and store all that data and have a centralized piece of trust. This way, they're actually distributing. It's like it's like having a distributed backup almost, right? With the advantage of seeing it very quickly. So instead of having one central place where they store all their data, who has what or whatever, you can do this on a distributed blockchain. It's a distributed database is the way I look at it. So
yeah, distributed database.
I mean, that's really what it's a distributed, inefficient database. Right, the way.
Yeah.
So I guess there's plenty of case uses for that, but it seems, it does seem kind of funny that it's JPM doing it. So anyway, interesting news. I don't know. I guess we have quite a few articles that kind of cover that area, and it seems like we're going to start seeing this blockchain, tech start changing the world, but that doesn't really mean much for those people who are buying lots of coins and holding them, because these are not things that will be traded. This is like technology changing the industry, which is cool. And I guess the best thing we can get out of that is that it is, in a way, it's validating the existing coins and tech that's out there. So if all the big boys move to blockchain and they trust it, the same exact technology to transfer some sectors of their business, well, then in that way, that same exact technology now can be looked at, well, that's what runs Bitcoin, that's what runs Litecoin, that's what runs, Cardano, whatever. And so
Cardano.
Bitcoins.
I think it's a really easy step for them to go and move that to a consumer level with their own, essentially, it's like their own USDT, right? Their own tether, and they can use that they can give that to their customers to trade alt currencies at some point in the future.
I don't see that happening, but you know what I mean? I mean, of course, yeah, 2 years from now, hey, J-Rod said this. But no, I don't know that. I mean, they're going to have a desk or whatever. I mean, who knows? I guess there probably is a race to be like the accepted stable coin, right?
Yeah, for sure.
For sure. But that's only because everything else is so volatile. If Bitcoin in 15 years has reached an equilibrium, and kind of like gold, gold fluctuates, but it's pretty slow. You know what I mean? Unless you have these spikes where, a country fails or something and they all try to move to gold. In that case, that becomes the reserve. That becomes the comparison currency.
Right. Yeah. It's the point of control.
Yeah.
Point of dependence.
Sure.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was talking about. We've talked about Ripple several times doing their, having all the big banks sign on, and here, we have JPMorgan, doing their own, and then I think we'll get to one later, Mitsubishi UFJ also working on their own. So the big boys are kind of wanting to keep things in-house, it looks like.
I mean, it's no doubt that the banks have been doing this for a while, right? It's just that for whatever reason, they're probably deciding now is the time to start, showing some of this stuff, right? I mean, they just obviously didn't start working on this yesterday, of course, So.
Yep.
I just wonder how much they really get out of it. I guess that's my question. And of course, these articles don't tell us that much, and maybe people who are more tied into, the financials would know more than I do. But for me, it's kind of like beep, whatever. It's kind of cool. I guess if you put that piece of news along with everything else, but I'm not over here, freaking out over it.
Yeah, the only thing that I like about it is that it shows everybody that crypto's here to stay. That the big guys, they're here. They're now like Jay said, starting to show their products, and it's just gonna spread and get bigger and bigger.
And look, and I think that's a great segue into our next article, which is Mike Novogratz argues that Bitcoin eventually becomes digital gold.
What a surprise!
I think everybody here believes Bitcoin is store of value.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess everybody says it's digital gold. Litecoin's digital silver. I think the thing that's so I think the thing that I keep coming back on a lot of this stuff is like Bitcoin's super slow. It's just like
so it's gold.
Yeah, I know. Super. And malleable.
Yeah, there's a reason for it.
Well, yeah,
Be
of
super
course.
slow.
Yeah. But I mean, so it's like, you're not gonna develop any technology directly on top of it, which is where, everybody likes to attack it, right? It's like, how can you do, 3 transactions a second or whatever, right? Visa does so many thousands. So obviously we'll have Lightning. Longest blockchain, of course, is most valuable for now. Who knows? And then I'm interested though in like, well, why couldn't you just tokenize ownership of gold on a Lightning network and plug it into Bitcoin then? And if you did, what does that make Bitcoin?
Because you'd have the same problem with Fort Knox. Like everybody's gonna want to know, like, how do you know for sure that this stuff is actually what it is? At least with Bitcoin by itself, we know what it is. We can see how much is out there. We don't know how much is locked up. But anytime you try to tokenize an asset, well, the underlying you have a derivative. So to know what these derivatives are worth, you have to know for sure that what they've been derived from is there and is accounted for. So it's the same old problem that we always have.
Well, I guess that's completely true. I guess my point I was kind of getting at was like, when people are going to do that, of course, right? If they, already haven't. I don't know if anybody's tokenizing gold actually, but that's an obvious use case.
Yeah, somebody
happened a few times.
They tried it.
Yeah.
So I guess I was just trying to get to a joke that took too long, but it's like, if Bitcoin is gold, what happens when you tokenize gold on Bitcoin? Does it become gold or,
Right.
So.
Hey-o! Good job.
Ding. Yeah.
All right.
There you go.
Fair enough. Well, look,
Yeah, I don't think anybody argues too much of it. It's just that, why does it have to be gold? It's probably going to be, right? It's like there's only one gold, so it's something else in its new form, right?
Exactly. Well, and again, we're already seeing the cases where people are trying to move across borders with real gold, right? And it gets taken away, right? Bitcoin is the gold that it travels with you.
Yeah, if you're good enough to have a brain wallet, which I am not, like I would not trust my own brain wallet. I might as well just throw my shit out the window, because by the time I get to where I'm going, I'm like, oh man, what was that? What was that key? Like, fuck.
Well, it's interesting too, because I don't know how many of you guys read or listen to Robert Kiyosaki. But I like listening to him, and I read his book, and actually got the kids one of his games he made that teaches you about money, which is kind of cool. But he talks a lot about how he has gold, and he has them in different places around the world and everything, and it's like, that's cool. But what happens when you want to get that gold? It's like, can you ever really be guaranteed you could be able to get it? Especially with who knows what's going to happen, with these various countries here. Obviously, you don't want to put it in a high-risk country, of course. But, it's like, so I think when I hear a lot of people talk about gold, that's one of the things that pops to my mind is like, man, if you really wanted to get it, could you? And, how would you be able to?
Possessions is not... Oh, sorry. I'm good.
Well, because look, I'm a big Rich Dad Poor Dad fan myself, but when Robert Kiyosaki talks in that way, I'm like, he's talking like the elite, right? I mean, he's not planning to grab all of his gold if the world shits. He just wants to be in one of the spots where he probably has a big old pile of gold.
It must be nice to have multiple piles of gold, like
right, exactly.
Let me check my fucking gold map. We're good. Yeah. I'm in Boston. I've got 24 ounces behind the
club. I've got real estate in every country in the world. I got gold in every country in the world. It's a beautiful thing. Cryptocurrency may be like that. We may have better access to Bitcoin than we do to our physical gold and silver at some point in time, I guess.
Well, I think probably these smart people are going to look at Bitcoin and stuff, and you read it, but you read about people talking about it, but it's like, until you think of those terms, it's another asset, right, for a lot of these people, which is why I don't ever believe Bitcoin is ever going to go away, right? It's like I believe already the people that have bought into it, early on, right? That guy that ran Wentz's, what is he? He runs one of the credit card wallets that you can't get in the U.S. He's a big early Bitcoin proponent.
Zappo, are you talking about?
Yeah.
Zappo,
It's the CEO. I don't know if he's still CEO there, but you know what I mean? It's like it makes sense as an asset, and so I could see him, buying into that too at some point. So whatever.
Well, I think I brought the argument up before, but I mean, you figure gold is somewhat finite, but it's a matter of time before your Elon Musks of the future go and tug a fucking asteroid, into Earth's orbit that's pure gold or whatever, or not pure, but you know what I'm saying. There's ways to increase the supply further on.
That's not that far off. Yeah, and that's not far off because Peter Diamandis and a lot of these guys that are rich and smart are already talking about that. They're already launching, asteroid exploration companies and stuff like that. Right. So, I mean, what would happen in 50 years? Yeah, if somebody does get an asteroid and they find a massive gold strike on it or something.
They found it.
They did already?
Really?
Yeah, it's like 9 quintillion. NASA's sending a probe to it, and basically, if they could bring all the gold back, they said like every human would be a billionaire.
Right.
Like
but you wouldn't
ridiculous.
Be because all of a sudden it's worthless then.
Yeah, exactly. If you valued it.
Right. I brought it. Woo, I win. Like, no, you don't. You lose. You've now fucking completely destroyed the market. Yeah. So, but that can't happen.
Gold isn't really, an asset of value for too much longer, I don't think.
Well,
yeah, probably not.
Like within the next 100 years, those asteroids are going to be mined, and basically any precious metal that's rare on Earth.
It comes down to how do we define value? And it's like, okay, look at diamonds. Diamonds are bullshit, right? We know why diamonds are worth something, right? So, but like, how do you, we all? It's just an agreed concept. We all just agreed.
Yeah.
Tomorrow,
says it.
These pens are in demand. Sweet, I'm rich now, right? So,
but gold does have a use case. I mean,
Sure. I mean, there's
and diamonds, even diamonds.
Okay, but you don't. Okay, industrial cutters. That's pretty much about it, right?
Well, and women.
That's the use case.
Well, no, they always bring up India and China having the most gold because culturally they buy a lot of gold for a lot of the traditions, and they position that as them being countries that have lots of gold and putting them in a better financial position. But I would argue just the opposite and say, those people in those countries with that gold, they are not going to part from that gold because it is part of their tradition. It could be part of their religion, and they're not going to ignore my cat. They're going to, they buy their gold and they don't plan to part with it. They don't buy their gold to, to save for retirement.
Yeah. Well, I guess the overall concept is, value is whatever humans decide is valuable. And, and we would not decide gold's valuable anymore, I don't think, if all of a sudden the world was flooded with supply. And we would decide Bitcoin's no longer valuable. If somebody hacked, quantum computing comes around and you can derive private keys from public wallets. Okay, well, it's fucked at that point, right? So the value's gone. So it really is just a concept of what we all agree that has value. And that may fluctuate.
Sure, but the quantum computing, I don't think that's the right way to state it. I think the right way to state it is probably when it comes, then they will develop quantum computing resistant, cryptography that from a point in time forward can't be cracked, right? So it's like...
Yeah, they've already got them. I mean, they're already working on them.
Yeah, so I mean, you can get those old wallets. Who knows what's going to happen?
But there could be this... Okay, but you have point A and point B, right? There's time in between where, is there a lag between when it's been somebody's got it and the fix is in, or do we get lucky?
Sure.
Or do we get lucky and like rumors are they're starting to get to that power so the people that can fix it before it actually gets hacked. I don't know. We're obviously a long way off from that, but
yeah, there is actually a couple protocols that are being worked on to fight back against quantum computing. I mean, they're already out there. I think Bulletproofs is one of them, and I can't remember the names of the others. But they already know, they're anticipating it, and they're already putting workarounds in place. So I think they'll be ready before the quantum computing, actually gets here, unless the government does something.
Right.
True.
I mean, it's an
It's an
interesting concept all around, I think, but yeah, I can't lose sleep over it now.
No.
All right. Well, look. So moving on. So Eric wanted me to bring up the Morgan Creek story next. So do you want to start the commentary?
Yeah, definitely. So following up on Novogratz, another fund manager, Mike Pompliano, his hedge fund is Morgan Creek, and they roped in 2 public pensions, and these are the first public pensions that we know of that have actually invested, into a crypto fund. It's a $40 million fund. The pensions are Fairfax County employees and police pension funds, and the fund will be investing into startups and cryptocurrencies.
Did you find anywhere how much of an allocation they were putting?
No, I couldn't find that yet.
Yeah, I looked and I couldn't find it. So I'm assuming we're talking a small allocation. Obviously, Novogratz is like 1%. Everybody should be in for 1%. Like, yeah, okay, that's gonna take time, Mike. Chill out. But I'm just curious how much they actually decided to put their toes in.
I'm sure we'll find out those numbers pretty soon. Because everybody is wanting to know. That's the $1 million question: is how much did they really put in, into cryptocurrencies?
Gotcha.
Not so much startups, but into the currencies themselves.
Yeah, because when I first read it, I was like, okay, so basically these guys bought into a fund, and that fund doesn't do just crypto; they do a whole bunch of stuff, right? Like any good fund should do. So nowhere could I find the juicy details that told me exactly how much allocation they had to their alpha portion. So.
Yeah, and Mike's a good guy. He's he's been out there preaching crypto and Bitcoin for a while now.
Yeah.
And so he's a good guy to follow on Twitter, to get updates on stuff like this from the VC hedge fund world.
Yeah, I mean, look at all the constant barrage of haters, and then Novogratz is putting his money where his mouth is. He's rich, he believes in. He's not just like some dude that's just rich and whatever. It's like he's doing stuff in the space and everything. So yeah, I was like reading about him and following him because at least he's doing something about it, something with it.
This is it's exciting news, and they do drop hints, companies like that, companies like coins like Bitcoin, it's a start, right? We know that it will get bigger, and we know other people will follow behind. I mean, every time I see news like this, I have to get excited about it.
Yeah, for sure, because like you just said, they don't want to get left behind. So the more. It's going to snowball.
No, that's good. That's good. Hey, did you want to talk about this Tron piece, Jason, next?
Yeah, I'll do that. And then before that, though, since we're talking about, we'll go back real quick and get the other thing I sent you about the Berkeley guy that hates crypto and wants it to burn in a fire.
There you go.
Yeah, because these are sort of related. I guess what can you expect from Berkeley? They hate everybody. I think the thing about this that just struck me, I mean, the guy's got a PhD. It's not like he's a stupid guy, obviously his PhD does, like I said, his research over there in computer science and everything. It's just that why does it have to be extreme, right? Why you don't like some of these things, but he's right. It's like a blockchain is inefficient. Everybody harps on this thing. Of course it is. A proof of work blockchain is slow. That is right. Because, it is. Okay. It's exactly. It's not meant to be fast, right? Because of the security, Vitalik even said the same thing. Again, we mentioned this last week. So I think it's just, you don't want to give too much attention to these guys, but you know, it's just like you read the news during the week and you're just like, why? You know, why can't smart people just talk about smart things instead of like, you know, it's like, oh, this thing sucks, it has to die. Da, 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 da. He even did a conference too. There was like, I think it was last year. Let me see.
Well, he's not
Oh, that's the link from last year, right? It's that was from last April, you know, and then he just came out again and you know was talking about it or something. So I guess my point is that I just do not understand. Well, okay, so two things with this. I'm gonna state this as I do not understand how a lot of these people come up with these viewpoints and ideas. Okay, they, you know, it wastes energy, you know, so they have some, I have to believe they have some political or philosophical, you know, dystopian view angle into it, and then it's hatred because it's a pretty amazing tech, you know, to make Bitcoin, it's, you know, it's amazing to me.
Well, and there's people as smart or smarter than him that are fully behind blockchain for the right applications, right? So to you know to really, you know, come out in a position like that, it just, I mean, I think it really hurts his own credibility.
Well, that's what I was going to say with him. I mean, you know, it's like rife for fraud, criminalities, tulip mania, blah blah blah. You know, just repeating some of the same things that even like, you know, less, you know, smart people have said. It just, yeah, it hurts your credibility. The second thing I wonder about this guy is, are you just so deep into research that you just don't look for any practical, you don't try any practical use, right? I think there's a big thing. Jared and I were talking about this a little bit earlier today, which is there is something to be said, and this is why I like Novogratz. There's something to be said about making, doing, trying, right? Failing, you know, that's what all the, you know, startups are all about, right? Pick it up, you know, make it better next time. Doing, right? There's a big thing to be said about that. And if you're just going to research and have an opinion and you're never going to do anything, why? You know, why would people do that? This, I don't know if he has, you know, anything that he's ever released or whatever, but it just seems like just part of this whole movement of people that like to tear everything down that people do, Bitcoin especially. And I just be nice if we had in the space more makers and doers. And maybe the big thing that's going to come out in 2019 is like, when we see the next big bull run and explosion, it's going to be because those people are hunkered down now. A lot of them got cut out. Why? And you know, going into 2020, it's just massive explosion of, you know, development and things like that. So, so that's, you know,
this guy discounts himself. I mean, it's almost like he's got no knowledge of how the internet came about in all the companies, right?
Oh, totally.
There were 1,000 companies that popped up overnight, and guess what? 999 died, and then another 1,000 popped up, and 900 died, right? And then another 1,000 died, and 800 died, and you know, now, you know, like it's no different here, right? We got a couple of thousand coins that will probably not survive, but you know what? As time moves forward, I mean, it's no, this guy is like a ostrich with his head in the sand, you know, speaking out his ass. That's
well, yeah, and he even, you know, talks about GEICOs and everything. You know, you have that at the bottom of your little window right there. But it's like, I still think GEICOs are amazing, and it's because I've, you know, been through enough VC offices and, you know, lost on deals and, you know, seen deals, been part of them, to know, you know, what that environment is like. So the fact that you can, you know, open up a project, which is basically the same thing you do with a startup. You know, you come up with a business plan and your team, and then, you know, people give you money basically, right? And everybody thinks like they're rich all of a sudden. So it's like, you know, you can, it's gone from the very constricted locality to a worldwide network of individuals. It's more decentralized, you know, democratic, you could even say, in, you know, a certain regard. I'm not talking about the voting part of it, just the participation part. But it's like, I think GEICOs are amazing, and I still think they're a great idea. Obviously, there's, you know, the securities laws, you know, with all the different countries, you're figuring that out. You know, it's a bummer. But in that core concept, it's like you've taken this whole thing that's enclosed to a very small group of people, very well connected. You know, if you don't know anybody, you're not getting any money, you know? So it's like there's that whole network, right? And then you've blown it out basically into a very, a worldwide meritocracy, you know, as long as, you know, of course, we're not talking about the people that go scam everybody, right? Scammers are going to be everywhere. They're going to scam investors out of money too. So it's not like it's a new thing from ICOs. Like, Jesus, that's been happening forever. So it's like you've made this worldwide thing. You've put out this, you know, your merit-based ideas and everything, you know, help, and everybody can buy in. And that to me is like amazing.
Well,
So,
and to be fair, you could do that before crypto. You had your Kickstarters, you had your other
Crowdfunding.
crowdfunding platforms, right?
well, but those are even recent, right? Those are still recent.
Yeah,
Past,
yeah.
like what, you know, maybe 10 years,
Sure,
you know?
sure.
In the 90s, you didn't have anything like that,
Right.
you know?
Yeah.
You had to, you know, and still, even with those things, it's, yeah, you're right. Those things definitely there. But again, those are, you know, obviously those centralized platforms. So, you know, if they didn't like your project, you're out.
Yeah.
Right?
So
It's
where's the SEC on all that stuff? You know, like,
right. Yeah.
I'm sure there were people that got screwed off Kickstarters. You know what I mean? Like,
Sure.
I mean, whatever. I'm sure they've got their own rules or whatever, but.
So yeah, I mean, I don't mean to, you know, put too much to this guy. It's just still, it's things I'm seeing. It's the same, you know, patterns repeating, and you know, I still feel like crypto is amazing. Still feel like the concept of ICOs are amazing. Smart contracts are amazing. You know, who else is building this stuff? You know, except for these projects, and people should really be focused on trying to do something to contribute to the world or contribute to their lives or something, instead of just like slamming it and like, yeah, let's put on, you know, this conference where we all talk about how much we hate this technology or whatever, blah, blah, blah. So that's that dude, which I think is a perfect segue into Tron.
Here we go.
So the employee, yeah, I didn't know that. That's pretty cool. Okay. He can do that, I guess.
Jason has read all the news articles before we did this.
No, I did. Yeah. I had to make dinner for everybody. That's pretty cool. The you know, the Quadriga also, those guys, believe it or not, what they send $500,000 to the quote dead CEO's wallet too.
Yeah, the wallet cluster.
You know. Look, the thing is, so Ethereum and Tron, okay? You know, Vitalik, the guy's mind blowing. You just listen to him talk and you're like, Jesus, man, the guy's, you know, he's smart. He, you know, he loves his kitties, which is great. That's always fun to watch. I mean, the dude's like, you know, he's a force, and he's a personality already, right? And I think Justin Sun, obviously, he realizes, I feel like he's more savvy on the marketing side, where Vitalik is very much more on the brainy side. You know, he's gonna just overwhelm you by like just smart, you know. Whereas,
yeah,
it's like a Jobs versus Wozniak.
Yeah. So yeah, and Justin though is like you know, a very smart guy on the technology side for sure, but he's very good at marketing, right? I mean, you know, they bought BitTorrent. Now he's doing, you know, this with the guy's like just doing these like perfect, you know, marketing things, right? Which again gets back to my point, which is, you know, if you want to build a killer developer ecosystem, this is one of the ways you go about doing it. So I'm not surprised that he did that at all.
Oh, well, yeah. I mean, the PR that he gets from this kind of stuff just, I mean, he becomes a magnet for good news.
Well, not only that, he's positioning himself as an industry leader, right? I mean, a real one though, and not just. You know, I think look at it this way: Ethereum is an industry leader, of course. Crypto obviously knows about him, but whereas a lot of the big news in like the tech space with Ethereum, and it's all in the partnerships, right? Partnership with Microsoft, IBM, and all these things, right? Which are huge, big deals. I think though, Justin Sun, it's like I think he has a different angle, which, you know, like he said, right? Entertainment. He understands that side of it, which is different. And I mentioned this, you know, last week when we talked, is, you know, the sort of enterprise one, and this one's more of the entertainment and developer one. So, you know, look for more of those types of things coming out from those guys, and then watch what happens, right? Because you know, do you want to build apps for the iPhone or Android? And it's not meant to be a slap at Android, right? But it's like, you know, Android is the bigger platform. It's you could say it's more fragmented, whatever, but it has, you know, more devices. There's a lot of like things going on here, right? For Android. Apple, on the other hand, super sexy, yeah, you know, gazillion dollars, but very, like, you know, very top to bottom, you know, on message, on point, you know, just leading in that regard, you know, as only Apple can do. And so I kind of look at I'm looking more and more at Tron and Ethereum like that, you know, as Ethereum's partnered blockchain, Microsoft, a lot of these guys, IBM and everything, and is Justin going to be able to really craft the Tron, you know, development ecosystem in a way that the Apple has done it, right? Which is, you know, and the big thing is the Apple ecosystem is the money driver, right? You make more money, you know, it makes more money for its developers than, you know, supposedly than Google does, right? So, you know, again, if that's, you know, the end goal of those platforms, you know, market share or money, it's like, you know, I guess you probably want to be, you know, more profitable. But
Well,
so
let's make it more dynamic, right? If I'm on the Ethereum side, you know, I'm having fun all day building a logistic blockchain, you know, to handle airplane parts, automotive parts, hospital supplies, or I can be on the de facto gaming platform Tron, building apps for games, right? And I think games are going to drive consumers faster into this market
yes.
than, you know, you know, an immutable logistics database.
Yeah, and that logistics database stuff is awesome, right? It's like doing the supply chain is a huge thing, of course, and a lot of companies know that for sure. But, you know, Fortnite and all these other things, you know, it's just like there you go, you know, and if Tron can line up with, like you said, the gaming side, because everybody knows esports and gaming is like the tip of, like, you know, it's starting to, you know, it's going to rocket off in the next like 5-10 years, right? So it's like if Tron's timing is perfect, you know, and none of these other guys get in, you know, like Cardano or, you know, Neo or anything like that, right? These competing you know, chains, then, you know, it could be theirs to lose. I don't know. It's awesome. That's all I can say.
You want to segue into
Yeah.
a game story?
Oh yeah, let's bring up the game war.
Oh yeah.
Drugs.
Drug wars.
Drug war.
Our resident drug war expert, Eric.
Yeah, speaking of
El Chapo.
games, right? Yeah, and on the heels of El Chapo, so Steam it. Some developers developed a game called Drug Wars to work with the Steam token, and so basically, there was a game that everybody's referencing called Mafia Wars. I think
that's
it was
back
a
in the
mobile.
day. Yeah, no, Mafia
Yeah,
Wars.
I think it was a mobile game, right?
No, I mean, it was before that even. I mean, Mafia Wars was like
It was a console game, old console game.
No, it wasn't console. It was just like an old computer game. Like, geez, I played that in '92, maybe '93 or something.
No, not that.
Mafia
Really?
Wars? Yeah, dude. That's
Okay,
old.
well,
I'll look it up right now while you talk. How about that?
I think this is similar to the game that I used to play on my phone, which is basically a resource game, you know, like StarCraft, any of the other games. You know, have your base and you have to build up the resources that support the base, and, you know, you can build your troops and whatnot. So, but this one revolves around drugs. So you're a drug kingpin, basically. But what's really awesome, and this got me really excited, thinking that this is it. Like we were just talking about, games may be the killer app for crypto, because this game, it's not a pay to play. You can pay to instantly upgrade, like all the other versions of this in the past, but you get rewarded in Steam tokens. And so the more drugs you produce, the bigger share of this daily prize you get. And currently, with 22 hours left, it's on a 24-hour cycle. 22 hours left, the daily prize is at $905, 2,990 Steam. And it keeps going up, as more people pay, to upgrade their buildings. And the post that Drug Wars associated accounts on Steam get upvoted. So those pools, from what I understand, are built up by it's on Steam and also the instant upgrades that everyone pays for. So yeah, it's an amazing concept, that you get paid to play, rather than paying to play.
I threw it up on the screen. You guys can't see it, but I was thinking of a game called Dope Wars, which I put a screenshot on there, and everybody, you guys can't see it, but everybody else can. You can check it out later. But yeah, that's the one I was thinking of. It's very much like ANSI graphics, like DOS based, and you would buy and sell stuff. In fact, I played a version of this on the BBSs back way pre-internet days.
Right? Well, I had friends during the .com that were they played Drug Wars.
Yeah,
and and they were kind of into that, so they'd be like, oh, "Yeah, this is awesome." I was like,
"It was like
awesome.
it was dope. It was dope/Drug Wars, which a turn-based thing, and then there was another huge one, Trade Wars, I think it was called. You would play that. That might have even been like news group based, but I know that was on the BBSs too. So let's talk about how fucking old we are.
If you really want to go OG, we can talk about Mule.
Mule, hey, I love Mule.
Mule and
Mule was the shit, dude.
Wasn't that the first resource game?
No, I mean it was a very early successful 8-bit one, right? But no, dude, they did those games, I think, before that, like on those old timeshare things and everything.
Mule. Well, the first time I played Mule was on NES, so I'm sure there was a version before that. But
no.
We played it growing
way
up
before Nintendo.
Yeah,
this is like the early '80s.
Yeah, I played
Electronic
Mule.
Arts made it.
Yeah,
that's crazy. Yeah, it was a good game though. Yeah, Mule was fun.
Dude, it was awesome.
And Alex, I got one question for you, and I want to highlight this because this article was 3 days ago, and it screenshots a daily prize at 240, and I think you already. Right. What's the number at now today?
Right now, currently it's $906, and it still has 22 hours to go. So it just flipped, 2 hours ago, and the pool's already up to $900.
Wow.
So now,
dude, wait a minute, hold on. Wait, before you say that really quick, is this like?
You just got Jason's attention.
Sorry, but it's like. I mean, are we gonna see games where they're gonna shoot up to like thousands, tens of $1,000s a day or something like that? Is that where you're going? Because
totally, and that's why this is amazing. And so, there will be, I think, different implementations of this where you can buy in, to maybe like a portion of it. Like I said, so that's one pool.
I might have missed. Where does the pool come from? Does it come from the players, or does it come from like where? How does the pool get built?
From what I understand is, like I said, on Steam, the part of the block rewards, come from your posts. Everybody shares.
I got that. You're right. So this is like.
So that's part of it. They say that they will use those post rewards to fund, part of the pools.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the other portion is coming from people buying the upgrades, the instant upgrades. Because I spent maybe like $8 total already, buying instant upgrades. Well, I mean,
pay to play, baby. Yeah, I got you.
Oh, dude. I mean, geez, how many people do that? It's like that. There was something you said for
we were
talking about thousands.
people spending $250,000 on a on
Yeah.
man.
Yeah,
What was it?
Fire
What was it
War.
called?
Yeah, War.
Yeah,
Fire
yeah.
Rate War.
Well, so,
Jesus.
and in addition, check this out. I don't know if Steam has this, right? But you have what are they called? The ERC and Tron, I think, has them too. The unique collectible like tokens.
The ERC 721, I think.
721, and yeah. So how long is it going to be too before that where you're looping all that stuff into the games too, right? Because you play like the city building games and everything, and it's like already I played variations of those, on the iPad and everything, and you can put in the Transamerica Tower or the Seattle Space Needle or whatever, so it's like imagine those unique things like they are unique in the world represented in crypto, right? And they're there, and they have value, and you can totally see where that would go too, right? So
they should do a game where it's like, if you want to talk about drugs, they should be like unique strains of weed that are like, that are built into the blockchain. Like you can it's like crypto kitties, but with marijuana.
Right. Yeah, obviously my thing didn't fit right, but you know what I mean? Yeah, it's like, well, yeah, who knows what people could, dude, you could do like, I don't know, maybe Pablo Escobar's like compound or something, or, whatever, right? There's famous things that have happened, in this vertical that people could put their smart brains to figuring out,
Yeah. So I think this is it. This is the thing that will mainstream crypto like right away. If they can monetize gaming like this, to where you're getting, I mean, even, small transactions, like, so in a 24-hour period, just because of the drugs that I'm producing, I'll get 3.4 Steam. So, you don't have to get that huge chunk, but just like a daily, reward that's constant. It's like,
Look, even the guy
that'll pull you in.
That's like I'm just gonna quit my job and start playing games on crypto. I mean, that's eSports, right, is the precursor to all that in that form. So, why not?
Whoever can monetize a MMORPG game is, I mean, that's going to be insane. That'll make WoW look like, nothing, a blip.
Yeah, no question about it. Hey, JP.
Oh yeah, I saw that. Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know if you're prepared to talk about it, but I mean, this looks like a big deal.
I saw that and I spent a minute looking at it like, that's pretty cool. WebAssembly.
Yeah,
I guess it depends who you talk to.
What's WebAssembly? I don't know what WebAssembly.
So WebAssembly basically is what it sounds like. It's assembly for the web, right? So
like ASM? Like I don't like.
Yeah, basically.
Okay.
Now I know some about it. I haven't totally delved into it because honestly, like I don't give a shit necessarily about it right now because a lot of people. So here's the thing. So a lot of people are driving to do that because everybody wants to do everything through a web browser. Okay, I don't buy into that that thought because I've built applications on real operating systems, not just on browsers like a lot of people want to do today. So that's why I don't buy into the whole WebAssembly thing necessarily, but that doesn't mean that it's not going to happen. There's a lot of, I think a lot of the newer developers tend to, do everything in JavaScript when to do that. The browser is like, that's their home, not a proprietary, operating system. And I totally get those arguments. That makes a lot of sense. So, WebAssembly will basically, I don't know if it actually compiles down to straight assembly or if it's like some
because that's pretty low level. I mean, that's
yeah, but I think it's like it might. I don't totally remember the specifics of it, but basically it's like you're going to be able to take any language and basically compile it into WebAssembly and run it, on any browser, right? So yeah, Mozilla, Microsoft, Google, Apple. So there you go, right? So you could maybe do it in JavaScript, you do it in Ruby, you could do it in Python, whatever. Compile it down into the WebAssembly native thing, and then execute it on the browser, right? So it's kind of cool, and a lot of people are very excited about that. It's just
does it bring another pool of developers into cryptocurrency, right? That were not in cryptocurrency before? Is that, when you take that out of it? Does it bring more developers to the table?
No, I don't think it does yet, because I think only I don't know. From what I've garnered off the internet, it doesn't feel like a big group of people are just all over this. Like, there's some group of people that really, really want it to happen. So, I think there's more interest in coding for Android or iOS or, just Node or even React or something than there is for, we got to have WebAssembly, right? People are working on it, but, that kind of, if those tech jargon platforms and frameworks, then, you kind of know that WebAssembly is like this big while the other guys are, like that, right? So, but it's if people are building it and it's going to happen, which it is, in 5 years, who knows, right? How it totally ties into Tron, though, honestly, I don't specifically really know. Like I said, I saw this and I was like, oh, cool, great, and then I think I had to go do something else or something. So,
no big deal. Like I said, I mean, again, it's just I saw it as possibly just another inroad to kind of build the ecosystem.
Well, so I mean, real quick, Tron is planning to further optimize the TVM based on WebAssembly, bottlenecks of browsers. WASM TVM will provide high performance and high throughput for blockchain to cope with complex scenarios. But I mean, the thing is this: so you're not running a blockchain in your browser, right? The Tron network is all on these, dedicated or hosted servers, right? So Ethereum's the same. So I guess the question is, what are you running? Are you going to compile your Solidity contracts somehow onto it, and then those go on the blockchain, though? So it's like it's not clear just reading that, like, what you're even going to put on a browser with that. So, but they're working on it. So I don't know.
Yeah, we'll see in time.
Yeah,
we'll see in time.
But yeah, it popped up my radar when I saw it, but again, I didn't dive into it very deep. So
okay, well, all right, so let's move on. So I think everybody saw this. So it is virtually certain now, certain that.
Well, it's official.
Almost official. We won't look. I don't want to. We don't need to spend a lot of time on it. But hey, is this real news or is it fake news? Right.
Listen, the key to this is when Hester Pierce brings up the argument that what is the mandate of the SEC? How are they supposed to determine what gets through their gateway and what doesn't? And you have to use the same rules for everything. And I think that's where it's like they're everybody's like wanting to just go, well, I don't know what this stuff is, so we're just going to say it can't happen, and that's not the right action to take. And so it takes work to understand a new technology. And we're asking people that aren't technical people to understand a very technical concept and then apply rules to that. And it's a tough sell. I get it. But I think that's what I take out of this, is that there are inroads being made, and there are people that do understand it to go, hey, the SEC is not an evil organization. They are trying to protect everybody. But even in their own security world, they basically disenfranchise poor people, which, we hate. But I don't think it's going to be like that forever. And I think that's the point of some of these articles. It's like eventually they'll have enough time and enough people they talk to.
The damn header, it says virtually certain.
Oh, you know what? Fuck, I'll shut up. It says virtually certain. All right, move on. We're good.
Well, yeah, I think it was good for her to say that. And I was reading some other stuff where they were saying, what's his name, Jay, the other, I guess the guy that's the chairman or something, Jay, what's his name?
Jay Clayton.
Yeah, where it's like he's kind of poo-pooed it the whole time, and he's sort of running out of arguments basically to
Typical WASP, right? I mean, it's come on, guys. It's like you got to get with a program. It's just this is your job, and you know what? Right now, your job just got a little harder. Boo fucking who? Figure it out. You know what I mean? You can't disenfranchise Americans because you can't understand what the hell's in front of your desk. You know what I mean? So they'll get there. They'll get there, dude. But we all have to understand what this means and why an ETF's a big deal, and really what. Further clarification of what the SEC's job is. And there was another article that talked about the CFTC coming in and saying, look, guys,
right.
What are you doing over here? Like, there are plenty of commodities and things that could have been manipulated. And we've shown you a way to do, like, the Van Eck did. They said, look, we're not looking at one exchange. We're taking an aggregate of all the exchanges, and we're updating this every few minutes or every few seconds or whatever it was. And they're like, look, can somebody do that? Can somebody manipulate this? Yes. Would we know about it? Absolutely. So you can't just say, well, it could be manipulated, so we're not going to allow it. That's bullshit.
Are the current markets manipulated?
No, Jay. Stop it. Stop lying. Yeah.
Hey! Look! So here's my segue. So it's virtually certain, which means that the experts are now optimistic about the Bitcoin rise despite.
There you go.
There you go. Right? See how
finally.
See how this all ties together.
Oh, Ronnie Mouse.
Yeah. There you go. Cryptocurrency analyst. Awesome.
Yeah. Well, look. Is it fake news, right? What's the takeaway is that there's no shortage of people that are no different than us that say, hey, we just have to wait this out, right? Like I said,
it's funny too. I was like, oh, McAfee, and then he's
McAfee.
He claimed like he had mathematical proof that Bitcoin was going to hit $1 million by some date or something like that.
We're still waiting for him to eat his dick.
And Ronnie Mose has shot his credibility as well. So,
but he doesn't have to eat his dick,
careful.
right?
No, but
there's only one dick eating happening. Okay, got it.
Yeah,
we'll shock him.
They need to be a little bit more careful with. I think the guys that they source on those articles.
Yeah,
I mean they could have sourced Mike Pompliano, and Novogratz, and there's a plethora of legitimate guys who haven't, shot themselves.
This isn't regular journalism either. This is all about clickbait and making money and
right. Yeah,
they're gonna post whatever gets the clicks.
I'm surprised Tom Lee's not on here.
Who?
No.
Tom Lee.
Oh, Tom Lee. Yeah.
He was saying, what was he saying? Like, 30K or something at the end of 2018.
He's been backing down too. I mean.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, of course.
I do like his analysts. His analytics do ring true with me. He does give you data-based analysis. So, whether it's right or not doesn't really matter. At least he's trying to back up his claims with some kind of data. So. Well, give him props for that.
With that, Sharon, let's take a look at this one guy, because really, out of the group, everybody's pretty much an opinion except this fella Sam Doctor, who's a data scientist, and at least he seems to have some reason behind why he thinks Bitcoin.
So what are his reasons? Okay, let's see his reasons. Miners policy will Bitcoin. What is that English? Miners policy will Bitcoin when it's cheap. Well, must be when it will buy Bitcoin and sell it off as it starts showing a bull run. Okay, fine.
Wait, isn't it like miners policy will
to mine Bitcoin?
Mine
Bitcoin.
Yeah.
They're going to mine Bitcoin when it's cheap and sell it. Okay, fine. Okay, increasing price and computing prowess of modern. Okay, so we're talking about ASICs. ASICs are starting to already hit kind of peaks, right? We're we're not seeing huge performance in more mining because of better ASICs, right? So I don't know about that. In fact, he's noticed that the price may reach something like 20,000 to 64,000 this year. Yeah, and all he's really saying is miners are going to be more efficient, I guess.
Is that? I mean, does the mining really? I mean, if the miners are more efficient, which means they're going to grab more Bitcoin, is that going to raise the price? Is that going to?
I mean, they're going to sell it. I mean, they're in business now. Granted, if they can get really good and their break even's better, they hold some, right?
Yeah.
Okay. I think right now we're probably very, very close to profitability margins, even in cheap areas of electricity. So
yeah,
that will really be. I think that's the data that I was more curious about seeing from people is how do we know what the break even point is for some of the cheapest places in the world? If you're not getting it for free, let's say. What's free? Hydroelectric, maybe geothermal. There are a few places that you can really get very, very, very cheap electricity. Beyond that, if you're talking, standard fossil fuel creation, your natural gas or your coal, what's that look like? What is that floor? And it's going to be different for different people, but we saw calculations that they thought it was 6,000. Now they think, well, in China it was 3,000. If that's the case, do we hit a China mining floor where it's like, man, it's just not profitable, and there could be a situation where if the bears really did take over, you could see a situation where people just shut stuff off, right? And then you have a loop.
Here we go. I found it. So I read a really good article. Let me see is this the one? No, this isn't it. Damn. So Hacker Noon had a really good article from some guy. I got to try to find it. Who's basically, I think, saying what needed to be said about the energy consumption and everything. And part of that whole thing that he said is like the argument that Bitcoin is wasting massive amounts of power. Like the size of countries and everything. He's like, it's completely false. He's like, there's this one guy, he found out his website. He's like, this guy doesn't even know what he's talking about. He's pointing to this other website where he gets his statistics, and he's like, this guy, I think he worked on hydro and big projects like that. And he said, the majority of Bitcoin is located around cheap energy around the world. It's located around hydro dams. It's located around like geothermal and like other places.
Australia has a bunch of that, right? They got those big towers with the stripes. Like, there are ways to get very renewable, cheap electricity, and eventually that's probably the future, right? That's probably where your miners are going to end up. Areas where
they have to, because that's the only place that's profitable.
Yeah, sure, and it's basic business, right?
Yeah, there's a group in my wife's hometown they're from Tokyo. They set up a farm way up north in Japan, in my wife's hometown. And the deal they have with the city is they get free power, and they hire local people to staff the farm, and run anything. So it's kind of a trade-off. But free energy, free power to mine, you can't beat that.
Well, of course.
And they have geothermal power up there. A lot of hot spring, geothermal energy.
Tan Staffel still applies, right? But I had a job once where I had to go to their house and do some work for them, and it's winter, okay, and where I'm at, I'm in Northeast Ohio. It gets pretty cold, and it's dead of winter. I go to this house, and it was probably 80 degrees in this house, and their windows were open. I look at this lady. I'm like, do you know your window's open? And she's, oh, it's fine, honey. I'm like, but their house wasn't like super nice. This wasn't like they were like, oh, just rich people, right? I'm like, I'm very curious, like, why is? Turns out, I guess where this house was, there were 5 that shared a natural gas well, and they essentially got all their natural gas for free, right? So they just didn't care. But even still, I'm like, it blows my mind. Like, can't you just shut your window? Like, it's winter. Like, just heat your house normally. But I guess what this made me think about was, there could be an argument made that because if we feel like the eventual end game here is miners only end up in places where there's free energy. Can we make the argument that that is a centralization of mining power just due to
Geography?
due to geography and due to the concerns of what it costs to mine. Is that a problem? Is that something that should be thought about? I don't know.
I think the Bitcoin mining has become more decentralized actually, as we've gone into
now. But I mean, I'm talking like end game where let's say it's 2100 and there's not really any block rewards to speak of, but there's these minor fees. Well, to do that, you're going to need to be in one of those places. And do we end up in a 51% situation because there's only a handful of miners that can afford to be in a geothermal vent or at the Niagara Falls or somewhere where there's these truly renewable power resources?
Well, I think the big question with that is like nobody knows what other kind of energy sources we're going to be able to harness in the future, right? And apparently from the article, which I can't find, but a lot of these hydro places are stoked to actually have these miners as customers because a bunch of it is like they just can't, I guess they can't like get rid of it or something. So
you know why? Because of grid distribution, right? So like like a big, like let's say for instance Niagara Falls probably generates a decent amount of electricity, and there's only, well, I guess that's a bad example. There's a lot of civilization around there, but let's say you had a highly well performing geothermal vent and there's just nothing around you. Like, okay, I get it. Like, you can't transport that super far away. It's not you can't package energy up and send it to America, in an easy fashion.
Yep.
So yeah, I could see that where there's certain areas that have high energy potential, but no close by distribution mechanism to basically charge for it. Yeah, I could see that. All we need is some Dyson spheres, and we're good, right?
Probably don't even need those.
Hey, so has anybody heard of or used the Spend app? Is this
Spend app?
Yeah,
No.
I'm looking at that a credit card like the Cash App, but here they, like I said, they're supporting Litecoin now. I'm wondering if that's similar to the Cash App, and just like the Cash App is Bitcoin. Right? Mobile app now allows crypto users to buy, sell, and pay with Litecoin at 40 million locations.
Interesting.
Huh.
Yeah.
How'd you find that?
This is on
the internet.
Right? Right. We are a firm believer in the fourth industrial revolution and the digitization of currencies. Right. So I mean, it just looks to be very similar to the cash card.
It does look. Yeah, you're right.
Right.
Now it says 16 cryptocurrencies. I wonder what that list is because I saw Bitcoin, Ripple, Litecoin,
including
So the news was they just added Litecoin. They've already supported a bunch of others.
Yeah. I mean, like I said,
it just sucks. The whole problem with all this is this is all games to like get your fiat or get your crypto back into fiat so you can actually spend it. And this is something we might look back at like, oh, remember back when you had to like take your crypto and sell it for paper dollars so you could actually use it. I'm hoping that in the future, like this is not a thing anymore. Like these would be jokes, right? Why would you do that? You're stupid.
Yeah. Well, like I said, there's nothing in here to tell us what the entire user base is, but I'd like to know what the user base is and really how that compares to some of the other cards, like I said, and the one that keeps coming to mind is the Cash App. But like I said, 16 currencies and
Cash App is Square, right?
Yeah.
So anyway,
it's probably bigger.
Bitcoin only.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And look, man, I can't let an episode go by without talking about Ripple.
Swift,
wait, hold on one sec before we wrap it up with that. I found that link and I just sent it. So just quickly just pull it up real quick before we switch off.
Yep.
Because this guy basically this article is awesome. He basically destroys, all these people, saying that it's so horrible and everything. I mean, it's a good read. So 25-minute read. So it's pretty big, but yeah, this one's awesome. If people are really interested in it, then it's this Hacker News article.
Patient Zero.
Hacker Noon, I mean.
By Robert Sherratt.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really good. He's I forget what he is again. He's like some kind of scientist or
fake news.
He was an investment banker, worked in natural resources and power for 8 years, and modeled electricity systems and assets in the UK and China. Yeah, so he has.
So this is, I mean, this is like a science paper, but this entire paper here is basically to fight the argument that
debunk POW, right?
Not only that though, it's basically he hits that guy that basically started that whole thing, and he basically tears the guy apart, and it's a joke when you see like this is what the guy based all that stuff off, and then it like spidered out everywhere, and then that's what everybody thought. I mean, it's crazy. So
yeah, this looks like a really good read.
Yep,
yeah.
I get it. Okay, Jay, it's time for your Swift.
And it's the Swift.
And Swift.
Look, we could have ended Hacker Noon, but hey, it wouldn't be a show without mentioning Ripple. So yeah, look, more of a joke than anything else. But look, Ripple is going to go up because they're tied to all the major players. It almost makes Ripple sound like they're part of the evil empire if they're teaming with MasterCard, Barclays, and Western Union. They just need to.
I got to stop you though. When it says Ripple price, I mean that's XRP price, not the company Ripple. There's two different things, right? So some of these articles, it's like, what the fuck are you talking about? Like, okay, there you go. Not Ripple, the company behind the token. So they even make the clarification there. But reading that headline, it's like, what are you talking? So through investments in a company that uses the XRP token and the product XRapid, Barclays and MasterCard are starting to get up close and personal with Ripple. Okay, well there you go. So
if the price of Ripple is a separate token from XRP, or Ripple?
There is no Ripple token.
So
technically, yes. When XRP quote Ripple was launched, lowercase, I think it was lowercase or uppercase, it was called Ripple.
Okay.
So
they later they separated. Remember they said, well, no, the Ripple is not XRP, and I don't know if that was because they were worried about the ramifications of
I
their
think
token.
they were trying to separate the two because of SEC issues or whatever. But if you go back and look at the old announcements of XRP and Ripple, they called it Ripple as well. But yeah, for sake of not being confused, we can separate them.
Well, so if explain to me. So when they say Ripple price predicted to rise, is that a stock rising because Ripple's a publicly traded company?
I don't think
it's probably a boo-boo on their end.
This is the world we live in, where there's everybody can make a website and post news. So
well, yeah, people to say that to attack Ripple. So I mean, take it what it is.
That's okay.
Well, here, send friend remittance, right? That's actually a pretty good little blurb there. I think we've talked about remittance, obviously, but.
Now, if XRP/Ripple can convince the Western Unions and the Swifts of the world that they've got a already pre-built technology that they should just use, then yes, that token becomes worth more. You know what I mean? Because it's now being you've built the use case. But conversely, convince me that why I shouldn't just build my own.
Well, or here's the thing, right? So. Okay, so this company send friend, right? It's like, why are they using Ripple? Why don't you just use Litecoin or something, right? It's fast. It's like super cheap. Why would they pick XRP? I guess that's a question.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, why not? Yeah. Why not? I guess, right? It is fast.
Well, there has to be some business deal that they were able to basically craft to get them to pick that up.
Well, this comes down to what we're eventually going to see the quickening. We have to see some of these consolidations and things die because there are a dearth of options to do all of these things, and somebody has to come out on top for each different, category
Yeah,
section.
yeah, right. It's
You know what I
because
mean?
those systems tend to naturally progress up to the coagulation point.
Yeah, no question about it. Look, I just got to say Ripple, so I'm whole. I'm whole.
Oh,
You're
good. No, that's great.
You didn't.
Hey,
You
what
didn't
is
touch on Swift. Well, sorry.
No, that's fine. By the way, what is does anybody know off the top of their head, like, what are the transaction fees for XRP? Eric, didn't you say you had to send some or something?
It's
It's
super
cheaper?
cheap.
Yeah,
It's nothing.
Yeah,
Because
I had to pull some money off of Hit BTC to get the hell out of that exchange, and I was like, I don't know if it was Hit BTC, which it probably was. They wanted like $5 transaction fee on Bitcoin, Litecoin,
ridiculous.
and I think one other coin I tried, and I was like, oh, fuck, I'll just try Ripple, and it was like 0.00 something Ripple XRP, so it was basically nothing.
Wow.
And I was like, okay, I'll dance with the devil and just get my coins off and move them over to Bittrex and then went back to Bitcoin.
So yeah, I guess it's like they could come in with like, yeah, ours is like 5/millionth of a cent or something, right? It's like, here, why don't you use us? Oh, okay.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Makes sense. That's it. That's all. That's all. That's all we got tonight.
One quick story. The Jack, Twitter Jack Dorsey, and Elizabeth were on Stefan Livera's podcast, and Jack confirmed it. That was interesting, but he confirmed that Lightning. They've been working with Lightning Labs, and there's a good possibility that it could be integrated into Twitter.
I saw that. Yeah,
for
tipping. Yeah, that's kind of
cool.
That could be huge, right? Yeah, right.
And
Twitter tips.
actually, there's already a browser plugin that can handle that right now. Where is it? It's the Joule, Joule. Joule. That's a browser plugin that will allow Lightning tips on Twitter. But the fact that the podcast was really interesting because Jack and those guys have been into Bitcoin for quite a while.
Mm-hmm.
And, the Cash, some of the guys on the Cash team run Lightning nodes. So Jack took the torch. So those guys, have been dialed in behind the scenes for a while, and now it's starting to come out, a little bit.
So they're actually doing something about it instead of complaining about it.
Oh no, they are. Yeah, for real. I saw the same thing. Yeah, they said it certainly does look like the Twitter tipping thing. I saw a screenshot. Somebody like, I don't know if it was leaked or what, but it was like he had his Twitter screen and you could see the Bitcoin logo on there. Like,
well, I think that was the Joule plugin because I just saw that today. Yeah.
Nice play on words too. Joule and Lightning. I like that.
Yeah.
Dorks.
Cool.
Bunch of fucking dorks. Awesome.
Look, he said Jack Dorsey said Bitcoin's going to be the money of the internet.
Okay, and before we go, just FYI, Drug Wars, the daily prize pool is up to $918. So it went up, $9 since we've had this conversation.
Wow.
Jason's about to join drug
Okay,
wars.
kids, everybody, all you children watching, start dealing your drugs so you can get Steam money.
Build your empire.
Build your drug empire.
Oh God.
All right, well that was good. I think we went way over again, so
whatever.
Yeah, whatever. Doesn't matter. Till next week, gentlemen. I'll talk to you guys later.
All right. See ya.
We're out.